Hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm Jo. I work with the Rhino Readers team here at Twinkl together with Twinkl Phonics. So just really to start off the TeachMeet, I'm just curious to know who is here tonight and where you're all from. So if you're happy to and you don't mind using your name and your place, it would be great to hear about where you're from in the chat, just to sort of get a sense of whereabouts in the world we're reaching with Twinkl Phonics and Rhino Readers. So yeah, if you're happy to pop where you're from and where your name is, if you're happy to, in the chat. I'm aware that sometimes we have people from outside the UK as well, so it'd be really great to hear if there's anybody from outside of the UK. And the other thing that would be really, really good to know as well, of course, is what you're hoping to get from this TeachMeet. So basically, yep, if I can just move that forward. There we go. If you're hoping to get what you're hoping to get from the TeachMeet today, we are going to be talking about Twinkl Phonics for Web and Rhino Readers Library. Obviously, there's a lot more things that we could be talking about as well. So if there's anything that you feel we could be sharing more of, or anything that you'd particularly like to talk about, we're more than happy to divert our chat and answer those questions. And of course, there'll be plenty of options for you to ask questions at the end as well. So please feel free to share a little bit about yourself in the chat if you're happy to. Otherwise, I'll move on and get started. So what are we going to look at tonight? Well, the first thing that I'm going to share with you is a little bit about the Twinkl Learner login system. That's because that's the system by which the dashboard apps, which are the Twinkl Phonics for Web and my Rhino Readers Library, are enabled. So to make use of those apps, it's really important that you've got your learner logins set up, and I'll take you through what learner logins are, run through how to set them up, and enable Twinkl's range of digital online dashboard apps if you're not familiar with that. We'll then talk a little bit about the Decoding Dream Team, and that's Twinkl Phonics, our SSP, and Rhino Readers. We have a demonstration of Twinkl Phonics' brand new dashboard app, which is Twinkl Phonics for Web, and lovely Sarah is going to be walking us through that later on. And then I'll explain a little bit more about my Rhino Readers Library and model how you can use it. So there's going to be quite a lot of demoing today, and bear with us while we switch between our screens and our slideshows, because there's quite a lot of complicated back and forth thing to do at this end. But hopefully you'll be able to see in real time how we're actually going to set those apps up for learners, and how we're going to assign books for learners and assign phonics tools and phonics equipment and activities for learners as well. And as I say, there'll be plenty of opportunity for you to ask questions at the end. So that's basically the run through for today. So Twinkl Learner logins, what are they? You might have heard about them, not too sure what they are, but in short, they're a way of giving access to Twinkl's material and resources to your learners without your learners needing to take out any kind of Twinkl subscription at all. So it's a bit like when you print out and share the worksheets. Obviously, the children you pass the worksheets to don't need to have any kind of subscription to use them. And we wanted to put something in place that's the same for digital learning too. So our learner login system is a way of using your subscription to share digital tools and activities with lots and lots of learners. So it's a way for you to share your subscription for learners to use those digital tools that Twinkl has. Learners get set up with a username and a password, and you set that up, you manage it, so you're in charge of that. And learners can log in to www.twinkl.co.uk/learn to see what they have been given access to via your subscription. So they see what you want them to see on their end, and you set up on your end the tools, the activities, the digital games, the things that you want them to see. And so it's a way of managing their access to Twinkl's digital tools. If anyone here has used Twinkl Planner tool in the past to share resources and activities with children, well, learner logins are a kind of improved V2 with a child-friendly interface and lots more things that can be shared. And as you can see here, it's possible to link up to 50 learners to your ultimate account. And your learners can be amended and reset at any point after creating them. So it's a really good way of assigning children the digital tools and the kinds of things that you want them to see on Twinkl without you needing to give them any kind of subscription as well. So that's what learner logins are. So when you've got learner logins set up, obviously the two learner dashboard apps we're going to talk through tonight are Twinkl Phonics for Web and my Rhino Readers Library. So we'll be focusing on those, very much reading and phonics related. However, it is worth knowing that with learner logins, you can enable access to 8 dashboard apps. So those are the ones that children can access through a browser, and also 8 mobile apps. And those are the ones that children can access when they've downloaded something onto their device from an app store. It's not stopping there. We are making more, and there are apps and activities for the full breadth of the primary curriculum. So for the moment, that's EYFS, Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2, and you can enable and disable the apps according to the needs and age of your learners. Now, there's lots more you can find out about giving out what you can give to learners. I'm just going to drop a quick link in the chat, and I know this will also be shared in the reflections document too, but this is a little outline of exactly what you can give children when you have your learner logins enabled. That link there will show you the different kinds of apps and tools that you can give children access to once you have them all set up with learner logins. So I'm going to do a little bit of a demo now. I'm going to try to show you how to set up your learners from your Ultimate subscription, from your adult dashboard. And I'm going to show you how you can download and print off learner labels so that your children know what their logins are. I'll also give you a really quick look at what the children see in their end, so what they're going to see on their dashboard when they log in. So to do that, I'm just going to quickly share this tab. So here is my Twinkl homepage, twinkl.co.uk. And I'm logged in, so you can see over here on this side, I've got my name in a little circle. If it says sign in there, you need to sign in to access all of this stuff. So you need to be signed in. And when you're signed in, you'll see there's a few options down here. And you can either go to my account or my resources. It will take you to the same place in the end. I'll just quickly jump to my account because 9 times out of 10, you do need to put your password in to get to this secure area. But there you go. So my account, my resources is down here. And that's where you're going to go to get to the learner logins. So once you've clicked on my resources, as you can see, there's quite a lot of things you can do in this area to do with your subscription. But also the key one here I'm going to show you is the manage learners. So this is where you're going to give Twinkl all the details about which learners you want associated with your Ultimate account. So I'm going to click on manage learners here to set up some learner logins and show you the ones that I've already got. We can manage the learner logins. I know Sarah will be talking a little bit in a little while about permissions, because for some of the apps that we have, you do need to kind of switch them on once you've got your learner login set, just so that we know which learner logins have access to which apps. But for now, I'm just going to click on manage learner logins and show you how that sort of side of things works. So here you can see I've got a few learner logins set up. I've got 4 set up. I've got plenty more to go because I've got that limit of 50, of course. So I've set up these learner logins on the system. If you want to set up a learner login, there's a couple of ways you can do that. Over here, there's a little box where it says add learner. And this is how you can add a single learner. So if I click on that box, you'll see that there's a spot where you can fill in the name of your child or learner. You can also fill in their class and their year. And if you have any groups set up, it is possible to set up children into groups there. You can add that information too. You'll also be provided with a username and a password, and it's usually a short word and a few numbers as well. If something comes up that you don't think is appropriate for that particular child, like if it might be an animal or something that you know that that child doesn't like or would trigger something, it's perfectly possible to regenerate. So if you don't like the username and password that you've got, you can just check and it will change it and give you another one. So that's what you do if you want to set up a learner. So I'll give, let's see what we've got. We have Susie Smith. And we'll put her into Oak class. She can be in year 1. And I'll create her. And there it says learner has been created. And she's popped up at the bottom there. And she's a new learner. Now, of course, you don't, necessarily want to do that every single time if you've got a full class of children. So there is a way to do multiple learners, which is this multiple learners button. When you click on that, the system will prompt you to download a CSV template. Now, don't worry, it sounds scarier than it is. You can open this in Excel, and it's just a way of gathering all your learners into one column and all the form, all the class, and all of name, class, and what was the last thing that it wanted to say again? Let me just quickly click. Yep, year, class, and name. So it's just a way of gathering all that information into columns, and you can then upload them all at once, and the system will create all your learners for you. So if you want to upload multiple learners, that's the way to do that. If you want to change them once you've created them, If you make sure that they're selected, so let's select, for example, Dan Brown here, you'll see that you get an edit button here. You can change Dan's information there. You can delete him, you can save changes. There's a fair bit you can do there. I'll just save the changes there. And you can manage his permissions, and Sarah will talk a little bit more about that in a bit, but this is how you kind of enable access or block access to the various apps that Twinkl have. The last thing I need to show you here really is how you print out the labels, because there are some labels, handy labels you can print out and give to children so that they know what their login is and their username and password. So for example, if I tick box all of those, I can then access my download learner labels button, which is up here. Now, if I click that, it was creating the labels, and it has now, I know you can't probably see this on your end, but it has now downloaded a PDF to my machine with all of those learner labels on. So that's a way that you can get those learner labels to your children, and then you can send them home with parents and carers so that they can log on. And if I just jump back to my screen share again, I think if I jump back one space, 2 spaces, you can probably see that there in the bottom beside the little boy on the screen, you can see the examples of the learner labels there, and it will have their details on so the children know what they need to take home and log in. So that is a little walkthrough of how you can set up learner logins on your system and have them saved, ready for you to assign to children. Please put and ask any questions. I know that there's a few here that have already come into the chat. If that's okay, we will definitely go through the questions at the end, if that's all right, and then we can make sure we can have a proper conversation while the recording's off. But yeah, there's a few questions that we've got in the chat, so thanks for that. So that's how you create and set up your learning logins. Now, the next thing that I was going to share, and jumping back through here, was the learner dashboard. So this is what the children see when they do go to that page, twinkl.co.uk/learn. That's what they see when they log in. So I'm going to share a different screen now. And I'm going to pretend to be one of my learners. And this is their username and password here. I'm going to sign in as a learner. And you can see this is a very child-facing kind of dashboard where this child can see all of the things that his teacher, me, had set up for him to do on his dashboard. There are lots and lots of things he can do. There's a phonics app, there's my Rhino Readers app. That's 2 that we're going to be talking about today, but there are lots and lots of other things too that you can set up for your learners, and it's a really straightforward way for the learners to get to what you've set them and actually access it and start getting on with their learning. So it really is that simple. They've just got to make sure they get to twinkl.co.uk/learn. They need that little bit of paper so that they can put in their logins and they're onto the dashboard and they can get on with their learning. I think at the moment it's not possible to personalize the login to the children, but you can give them their name as they would want it. So it can be the name or an alias. So it's whatever you want in the name section, but the username and the password, that has to stay centralized by Twinkl at the moment, as I understand it, Joanna. Okay, so that's a very quick walk around of the learner dashboard. Now I'm going to jump back to our slides. And I think the next thing that I'm going to do is hand over, without further ado, to Sarah, who's going to walk through Twinkl Phonics and Rhino Readers and a bit more about the Twinkl Phonics app in particular.
Thanks, Jo. Yeah, I'm Sarah. I've been on the Twinkl Phonics team for nearly 5 years now. So I've worked on the main SSP program, but I've now also been developing our wonderful new learner dashboard app. So some of you will be very familiar with our Decoding Dream team. Obviously, at the top left of the jigsaw, we've got Rhino Readers, which are our lovely decodable books. And the top right, we've got Twinkl Phonics, so our DFE validated SSP program. But in addition to this, we've obviously got our new digital extensions, so the Rhino Readers, My Library, and Twinkl Phonics for Web. So these were developed as part of our digital offering, just to enhance our provision and make the scheme kind of even more engaging and flexible. So they're perfect for using at school and at home as well. So obviously with the learner logins, the children can use them, the same login, to access them at home and school. So it really gives you that flexibility. So you may wonder what our learner dashboard apps are. So kind of like Joe demonstrated before, they're any Twinkl apps that are accessed via our learner login system. So we've worked really hard to make sure that there's kind of one ecosystem, one entry point, and once the children are logged in, everything that they need is in one place. So you go to the web page, you log in, and there's nothing to download or install. So to try and keep it really simple. So I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of the child experience for Twinkl Phonics Web. So Joe, sorry, could you move me on, please? Thank you ever so much. So obviously you can see sort of top left, the page that Joe showed you earlier. We know sometimes that the learner login process, particularly for those younger learners, can be a bit tricky. So a couple of things that we've kind of discovered to help those younger learners are things like making a shortcut. So whether it's a desktop shortcut, so there's an icon that appears on the desktop, or whether it's a shortcut on a tablet, just to sort of remove a step so they can tap on that and then they can enter their login details more easily. The other thing that we've had someone try is generating their own QR code for that and printing it out and sticking it up on the wall, which is obviously ideal for tablets or iPads, so that the children can go up and scan it, and then it takes them straight to that learner login portal. And as Joe mentioned before, if there's particular username or passwords that children are finding really tricky, it is possible to regenerate until you find something that's a bit more simple. So once the children have entered their details and logged in, they'll see all of the apps that they've been enabled for. So if the app you're looking for, perhaps Twinkl Phonics, isn't there, it just means you go back to the learner permissions. And I'm going to walk through that with you in a little bit. So we're taking a look at Twinkl Phonics for web. So they can click on the Kit and Sam icon. So they might be very familiar with Kit and Sam if they're following the Twinkl Phonics scheme. And once the app has loaded, they'll find themselves in Kit and Sam's treehouse, which you can see there at the bottom. So I'll just give you a quick run through. This is what the children will see when they log in. So on this top blue navigation bar at the left, I don't know if you can see that very clearly, but there's a star and a number. And each time your learner plays a game and completes it, they'll earn a star. So the star isn't dependent on their score, because we know that particularly when they're learning new GPCs and the rate at which phonics moves, it's really important that we keep them motivated and keep everything positive. The second thing you'll see, we've got a little table with their trophy book on, and that contains their different badges. So the badges are awarded at different milestones. So things like when they reach a number of stars or how many games they've played. So then on the tree trunk, you can see the different levels and different numbers, sorry, and these correspond to the levels within the Twinkl Phonics program. So perhaps if you're a reception child, you might have been accessing levels 2, 3, and 4. So once you click on a number in the treehouse, it takes you to that level of the app and the games for that level. So access to the levels is something that can be controlled in the adult settings, and I'm going to talk about that a bit more later on, but it will basically means that you can just control exactly what your learners are seeing and making sure it's appropriate for them. If you've got a reception child starting in September, you might not want them accessing level 5 and 6, so making sure that they've just got the things that they need that are relevant for them. Sorry, Joe, could you move on again, please? Thank you. So you'll notice in the treehouse, the other thing that I've not talked about, I've got my lovely robot Rick avatar there. So each learner has their own and it's fully customizable. So once you've clicked on Robot Rick, it brings up this second screen that you can see at the bottom, and the children can customize their own Robot Rick there. So the stars that they earn for completing their games, they can spend to buy different outfits or accessories for their Robot Rick. There are free items, so the children can customize their own Robot Rick from the very beginning. So once they've got their Robot Rick, they are ready to go through and play the games. Joe, could you move me on, please? Thank you. So as I've said before, the levels on the treehouse correspond to the different levels. So perhaps if that reception child is working within level 3 and they've clicked on level 3 on the tree trunk, they'll see either one of these top 2 menus. So the default mode for the app is that all the letter sets are locked and the games are locked, so that the children have the first one and they progress through. So they progress through the letter sets and the games, and they unlock the next level by completing those. So if you have got letter sets locked and you've just left it as it was, and you'd like the children to progress through, perhaps as you're teaching, you can leave it like that. However, you might not always want that. If you've got a child joining midway through the year, or actually you're using it for consolidation or an intervention group, you might want to go in to the adult settings and unlock them. So this is what the menu on the right would look like. And the children would see that if they'd completed it all as well. So perhaps they're just having a bit of a revision session before the phonics screening check. They might just dip back into the other levels. So if you see something grayed out, don't panic. It just means that you can either change it in the settings, or that the children can progress through. But I will walk you all through that later. And you can see, having a look at the grapheme menu or the letter sets, that they're broken down just like they are in the main Twinkl Phonics program. So it is fully aligned with what we're doing. And then once you've clicked on the letter set or GPCs that you'd like to focus on, the different game menu pops up. Could you move us on, please, Joe? Thank you. So I have put in a little screenshot there of our user guide, and pages 18 to 21 talk you through the different games. So you can look at kind of the learning focus for each one and see which level and week they first appear in. So if you think, oh, actually, those children need a bit of a boost on their tricky word reading, you can have a look and find it out. It's just worth noting, though, that not all the games appear in each level or letter set or grapheme. It depends what's taught in the main program, really, and whether it's relevant. So tricky word is a good example of this one within level 2, because they're not introduced for reading until week 4. They don't appear until set 4. So it really is fully aligned. Right then, I'm going to switch now between the presentation and giving you a rundown of what our children can see. Marvellous, we're there. Right then, so this is very similar to what Joe showed you before. I'm going to log in and pretend to be one of my learners. There we go. So you can see that, and I'm just going to walk you through and have a little look. So they've obviously recognised Kit and Sam and clicked on that. So we've got the stars up here. So I've completed 5 games so far, and I've learned different things. So I can customise my robot Rick. Here are the badges. So you can see how I've been progressing through. And have a little look at robot Rick. So you can see some of the items are free, and then some of them they need to use their stars to buy. So I'm just going to have a quick look at some of the games, and then I'll show you some of the different levels. So this is our level 2. So obviously you can see we've got SATP, INMD. So again, following that same progression. I'm going to whiz on to set 4 because that's when some of the other games start to appear. So I have got my settings shown as all sets unlocked, so I can dip in and out of any of the games. However, if you were logging on as the first time and the settings hadn't been changed, Sound Hide and Seek would be shown in colour and the others would just be grey with a padlock symbol. So Sound Hide and Seek is kind of our introductory game where the children are shown the sounds for that week. They're shown the mnemonic and the grapheme, and then they can practice the letter formation and then play a little mini game. So it's kind of a few games in that one. What we do for time.
Kit and Sam are playing with Ben in the garden. Say the sound you can see. Tap on the object to make Ben catch it.
So this is one of the games where we've got grapheme recognition. So the children are prompted to say the sound, and then they can click on it and they'll hear the correct sound. Bubble Pop seems to be a real favourite.
Dad has put too much bubble bath in the water. Pop the bubbles so Kit and Sam can get into the bath. Pop the bubbles with the sound.
Just to double check, you can hear the audio, can't you? Perfect. There we go. There we go. And then eventually it will move on to
Your new sound is
okay. Sorry, this is really a whistle stop tour. We've got lots we want to show you. Right.
help Dad match up the smelly socks to go in the washing machine. Drag the correct sock into the washing machine. Read the word. Drag the correct picture sock into the washing machine. If you need help, click on the word.
So within this game, we've got the sound buttons or the letters that the children can click into. So if they're at that point, kind of on their reading and decoding journey, they can click on the sound buttons for support. Or if they're not sure of a new grapheme, they can just click on part of it just to help them.
Great job!
And that we've got that scaffolding for them. The other one, we've got a game where they can make their own pizza. So a kind of segmenting game. And you can see I've played that one a lot. So I've earned my first medal for it. And we've got on.
Click on the arrow to start reading.
So I think these are going to be really popular. We've had questions before from customers about whether we have interactive versions. So we're hoping this will be really
Tap on the sound buttons to hear the sounds. Blend the sounds together to read the word.
So all of the letters and the sound buttons are interactive. So again, much like the other game, if the children at the stage where they feel that can blend independently, they can. Or if they've got a new sound and they're not sure, they can use them for that bit of scaffolding. There we go. So each of the levels has a different theme. So level 2 is based more around Kitten Sam's home. And level 3, always on, is based around Oakwell Town. So we can see that some of the games, we've got the sound hide and seek game again. The games kind of have different iterations. So they look different to the children, but the learning is the same, but obviously it's got the new content for that level. So within this game, we've got a new game. So this is our tricky word game. So this is for tricky word for spelling.
This is tricky word.
We
think this part of the word is tricky. You might think a different part is tricky, and that's okay. This is tricky word.
Me
We think this part of the word is tricky. You might think a different part is tricky, and that's okay. This is tricky word.
B
We think this part of the word is tricky. You might think a different part is tricky, and that's okay. Kit and Sam are making mud pies in the woodland play area. To make a mud pie, tap on the bucket that shows tricky word.
We
There we go. So sorry, my apologies, I said that was the spelling. This is for reading. So if you're familiar with kind of any of our interventions or the lesson presentations, you'll see that we have the active repetition method. So the app echoes that. So we use the same language about the children identifying the tricky part that they feel is tricky. So yeah, you'll notice there's lots of similarities and it's all fully aligned. Level 4 is our most recent level. And you can see I've not unlocked this for my learner yet, so you can see that they'd have to progress through. So we've got some different games here. Again, so now we've got the ship spelling, so that is our tricky word for decoding. And it's very similar to the game I just showed you, but the children can click the letters and change them to help them identify the tricky parts of the letters as well. Right. I think that's everything on there. Let me stop sharing, and then Joe, you could take over again, please, if that's okay.
Perfect, thanks, Sarah. Yep, I'm just going to jump on. I know there's a couple more bits that you were going to talk about the adult journey for Twinkl Phonics for Web, wasn't it?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just whizzing through it. It's a bit of a whistle stop tour because I'm aware we're already halfway through. Yep, so yeah, we're going to have a look now at the adult journey and just see the sort of key difference between that and the child's journey. So one of the main differences is that if you would like to demonstrate a game to your learners, perhaps you're in a classroom setting, or explore the app yourself, you can do this via the landing page. So I've hyperlinked that there. And just like before, I'll do a live demonstration of this, but I thought it's handy to have it all written down for later. On the sort of mock-up of the laptop there, you can see we've got the green launch button. So if you want to open the app kind of as an adult, you can click on that. Clicking on the launch button will also take you to some of the settings. The other things that are useful, the landing page has all sorts of key information, but if you click on find out more, that will whiz you all the way down to the bottom of the page to our FAQs. There's all sorts of handy information in there, so it's quite a good place to have a little look if you've got time. And then if you scroll down, you'll see a first sort of blue horizontal bar, and that's got a link to the user guide, and that will take you straight there. So the user guide's got lots of walkthroughs and information. So if you haven't seen it before and you are setting it up for your class, it could be well worth having a look at. Could I have the next slide, please, Jo? Thank you. So once you've clicked launch, you'll see another menu pops up. If obviously you're an adult, you can click adult. It is possible for learners to log in here, but we really are trying to encourage them all to log in through the learn, so that twinkl.co.uk/learn, so that they've got that consistent experience, and then they're into their dashboard. So we're treating this as an adult. So once you've clicked on adult, you'll see this second menu pop up. So we've got the purple button, and that will, it's explore mode, so you can open it and have a look at the app just like we've done really, but as an adult. And then the pink buttons are the 3 different settings, the settings that we're going to have a look at now. Could you move on again, please, Jo? Thank you. So from here, this is very similar to how Jo is showing you. So if you make sure you're logged into your Twinkl account as normal, and then you can click on your name and just scroll down to the My Resources from the menu. Now, Twinkl Phonics is right down at the bottom, so if you just scroll down on your screen a little bit, you'll get there. You can see us hiding down at the bottom here on the very right-hand side. And then the next slide again, please, Jo. Thank you. So these are some of the settings that Jo was talking about before. So we've kind of got 3 different options here. We've got the web settings, reporting, and managing learner logins. So managing learner logins is what Jo demonstrated at the start, where you can add pupils or remove pupils and edit usernames and passwords, and where you can download your labels. So the top one is Twinkl Phonics for web settings. So this is where you can enable the app. So the Twinkl Phonics web won't appear on your user's dashboard unless you have enabled it for them. Within this one, this is also where you can give access to the different levels and where you can unlock the letter set. So if you don't want the grayed out screens with the padlocks and you just want children to be able to dip in and out, this is where you can go. Reporting, this shows you how the children are progressing, when they were last active, what badges they've earned, how many games they've played. So you can have a look, there's kind of a summary overview, or you can click into the level and look in more detail at that. So it just gives you a sort of a screenshot, a snapshot really of who's using it and when they were last on. So I'm going to take over now, Jo, if that's all right. And I will. So many tabs. There we go. It's coming through, hopefully. There we are. So we've got our dashboard page here. So we've got the launch and the explore. Find out more whizzes you all the way down to our FAQs. So lots of people have been asking when we're going to have levels 5 and 6 out, and we're hoping they're going to be out for the autumn term. So hopefully sort of year 1 and year 2 classes will have something to use. So if you're going to click launch, you can kind of get to this one of 2 ways. So we've got the adult, and then we've got manage learner logins, customize learner settings, or track learner progress. So I'm just going to flick back to my other tab and just show you that we've got the same. So here we go. Oh yeah, there we are, Jo. log in again. There we go. So down to my resources. Oh, we've got Twinkl Phonics web. So here we've got our main settings. There we go. So here we are. We've got our pupils down the side. And if we want to have a look, so you can either do this, as Joe said before, singularly. So if you're perhaps working with different, you might have got a mixed age class, or perhaps you're a tutor, you can do this individually, or you can do it for everybody. So if you would like the app to appear on your learner's dashboard, you can click yes for here. If you would like them to have access to all levels of Twinkl Phonics for web, you can say yes or no. And you would perhaps like them, perhaps they're a reception child and they've started their journey, you can click level 2 or level 3. So that will affect which numbers are shown on the treehouse for the children to choose from. So I'm going to add a couple more, perhaps they're midway through. And then unlock or letter sets. So if you want the children to progress through, you can click no. So you'd like them grayed out with the padlock icon, you can whiz through. Or if you would like to say, yes, actually, we're joining perhaps halfway through the year, or I would like them to be able to dip in and out, you can choose. So that will be all of the letter sets in level 2 unlocked. And you can do that. So that's a really key one to be able to do. And there we go. Let me just double check what else I was going to show you. There's so much to get through. I just want to make sure I've covered everything. So we'll have a look at the reporting now. So again, if you ever get stuck, I always find myself going back to my resources to this green menu. I find that really helpful. So Twinkl Phonics web reporting. There we go, you can see. So we've got the children, you can see who's logged on, who hasn't, when they were last active, or you can have a lot more in detail. So you can pick a learner, or you can pick a particular level. So perhaps if you've got an intervention group, you can have a look at how they're doing. So the app doesn't assess, but it does give you an idea, if you've used it, which level they're working through. So if they're on the default setting where it's locked, you'll see where they're up to and how far they've got, and also the total stars earned and when they were last active. Okay, right. I think that's everything from me, Joe.
Brilliant, thanks, Sarah. That's a really comprehensive app, and it's just the kind of thing I would have loved to have had when I was teaching that age group, just to reinforce those key skills. So thanks so much, Sarah, for walking us through it. There's lots more as well that you obviously didn't have time to show today. So do have a little look and see what games would suit your learners and what might be useful for you there. So I'm going to quickly just pick up back with the Rhino Readers reading scheme. Sarah mentioned that there was a decoding dream team of Twinkl Phonics and Rhino Readers, and we kind of worked together to form an SSP for your children and help them to be the best readers they can be, unstoppable readers, we call it. So basically, the Rhino Readers reading scheme was created and brought into being because we wanted a really strong reading scheme that matched Twinkl Phonics and echoed the story-based learning that there was in Twinkl Phonics. We weren't that pleased with the range of other reading schemes that there were around, and we really wanted to create our own. We wanted to make sure that it was really vibrant, really engaging, but most of all, we wanted it to be absolutely dovetailed with Twinkl Phonics, and that's where we were with making Rhino Readers reading scheme, which has, of course, Kit and Sam, as well as lots of the other books that we have as well. There's a wide range of genres as well as the Kit and Sam stories, I should say. We've got non-fiction, traditional tales, play scripts and poetry, and there is a link there which we'll share with you with the TeachMeet slides where you can explore the different books within the scheme and have a little look. And one of the big strengths, I think, of the Rhino Readers scheme is the different means of access and the different ways we let you and your children access the books. We do have paperbacks to purchase, and obviously for some people that is the main thing that they want. But we do have a few of the ways in which you can access this scheme and share the books with your learners. We do have a dedicated mobile app, which is great if you want to have the books on one device and you want the children to be able to come over and read the books on that device. But we were made aware that it would be really useful for teachers if there was a way of sharing the books with lots of learners to read at home on their own devices. And it seemed like the learner logins were the perfect way to make that happen. So we launched My Rhino Readers Library, which is the dashboard app for Rhino readers to get your children reading these books on their own devices at home. So basically, that's what I'm going to walk through now. I'm going to let you have a little look at what that means and how that means you can get your children learning and reading the Rhino Readers books at home. So a bit like Twinkl Phonics for Web, there's two sides to the Rhino Readers app. The main part that you're going to work with as an adult is the adult admin area, and I'll be able to walk you through this in a little while. But essentially, this is where you're going to be able to allocate books to children so that the right child is reading the right book every time. And to do this, you'll need to be logged into your Twinkl account. As I demonstrated before, make sure your little name is in the corner. You go into, put in your credentials if you need to, my account, my resources, and this time, instead of looking for the learners or Twinkl Phonics for Web, you're going to be looking for a little tab that's called My Rhino Readers Admin. And when you've clicked on that tab, you'll be able to see all the books that you have available to allocate across the top, and you'll be able to see all your learners that you've set up down the side. And it's a very straightforward interface. You literally click at the top to choose the level that you want, and then you select which learners can have access to which books in that level. So what I can do is just quickly show you here, if I jump back off that tab and share this one instead. So I'm going to start back at my resources, and down here at the side, there's my Rhino Readers Admin. The reason why it looks a little bit different is because last time I had to click on my account, I had to sign myself in, but you'll get to the same place. It's my resources and my Rhino Readers Admin. It's just that if you go straight to my resources, you'll see a slightly different view, but you'll get to the same place in the end. So my Rhino Readers Admin is what you're going to choose to allocate those books to your learners. We'll click on the green button to get started. And you can see here that we've got the books across the top and the learners down the side. And I've got a few learners that I set up tonight. I've actually set up Hallie Homed because we had a question in the chat where saying, do we have to have a class and a group? No, you don't. You can just set up the learner without any other information, just their username and password. So that's perfect for your needs if you don't want to see a class or anything school related in there. But you can see that there's a few children here who haven't got access to the books. I've just set them up. So Susie Smith, if I wanted her to have access to all the books, then I could click all and enable them for all the learners. And Susie's now got access to all of the books. If I wanted, for example, if I wanted Dan Brown to not have access to all of the books, you can kind of do a double click thing where you click and then take them off again, and he'll get rid, you've kind of cancelled his access to the books. You can also give everybody in your class access to a particular book by just clicking all at the top here. So here's a book called Aziz's Noisy Toy, and I'd like everybody in my group to have access to that, so I can do that. It doesn't at the moment log how often the student has read the book. At the moment, it's a tool just to make sure that you've enabled or taken away access to particular books. That is something that we are looking to do in the future. I haven't got a date for when that will be available as of yet, but I agree that that would be a useful tool, and it's something we're going to look at in the future. So if you want to check different books out, we do have different levels. You can scroll across the top. You can see all the different levels. We do have a filter where you can see the different sub-levels of books. If you're just looking, for example, at 3A books, you can filter that way. Or if you're just looking at, for example, the level 6C books, you can filter that way. So there's ways and means to get around the library. You can check and uncheck. So it is just a way of making sure that you've got your children seeing the books that you want them to see. So let's jump back to level 1 and let's give Hallie and Susie access to all of those books at level 1. And then what I'm going to do now, if I can just jump back to the slideshow that I have, there it is. Now that we've got some books set up, I'm going to show you the other side of the coin. I'm going to show you what the children see when they log in and they've got some books allocated to them. So if I go back to my dashboard, I've logged in, as I showed you before, so I've typed in the learner, and here is the little icon from my Rhino Readers Library. You can see the Rhino there reading away. So when you click on this learner has got access to lots and lots of different books, and he'll have them in his library. And obviously, it's up to you how many books you have accessible at once. You can have as many, all of them. You can have none of them. It doesn't matter at the moment how long they stay on for. So there's no restrictions on who can see which books. When the child wants to read the books, they just click on go. For example, here we've got The Gingerbread Man. and they're able to read The Gingerbread Man as an ebook. There's some information down here to help you as a teacher or a parent know what the aim of the book is, a little bit of blurb so you can introduce it with your children, and then it's just a case of cracking on and reading the book as you would on Twinkl generally. You can turn over the pages. This is a level 1 book, so it's got some animal sounds to hear. So that's the way that the children can read the book. They can just close it when they've had enough, and then they can zap back to their library. If they've read another one, it's got another one to read, and that's that. And then if they want to go back to the dashboard, oh, whoops, I think that's gone to the wrong place. Oh, beg pardon, got to the wrong place there. I'll get myself back into the library. There's my dashboard. Okay, so that's how they're back to the dashboard, and then they can have a look at other books that they've got and other tools that they've got. So that's a really quick walk around of how the child will read the books that you've set them in their My Rhino Readers Library, which they'll get to from www.twinkl.co.uk/learn. Obviously, that works on tablets too, so it's tablet friendly setup. So you can allocate that to use on a tablet. Because it's read through a browser, it doesn't really matter. You don't have to have a specific device. It's fine to use on tablets, it's fine to use on screens, so it's no problem if your children have got a wide variety of different devices at home. Now, one thing I would say just before we wind up for the day is that this is one way to access the books and learn and share them with your learners. There is another way that we have to access the Rhino Readers books, which is a mobile app. Now, this is a bit different to a dashboard app because a mobile app is something you download from an app store and you get it on your device. So that's the difference, is that when you've downloaded the app from the app store, that will stay on the device that you've got, that you've downloaded it to. It's something that an adult would need to download from the App Store onto their device, and it would basically save the Rhino Readers library onto your device and let you download the books you want so you've got them when you're offline. So with a mobile app, because of the limitations of that, it's not possible to assign books to children to read on a different device. It will only really remember what's on that device. So the mobile app is the way of making the library work if you've got one device which you're going to call lots of children over to use, and maybe you don't need internet access, you don't want internet access. But if you do want to assign the books and you want the children to be able to go away and read them on their own devices at home, then the best thing for you is probably going to be the My Rhino Readers web tool that I showed you today. So just to reiterate, if you're looking to use one device, you've got lots of children that are coming onto that device, and you prefer to access the books offline, then the Rhino Readers mobile app, which you download from the App Store, is probably going to be your best access method. And that's something you would download and subscribe or use your ultimate credentials to log into. However, if you're looking to assign books for children to go away and read on their own devices, perhaps you've got your teacher and you want to set up quite a few children with different books, and you want to manage that reading remotely and assign books to multiple children to read, then the My Rhino Readers library with your learner logins is the best access method for you. So I'm just mentioning it because there has been a little bit of confusion between the two different ways of accessing the books. So hopefully that makes it a little bit more clear which access method will be the best for you. And of course, there might be opportunities in schools for you to do both of those things as well as using the physical books. So we've made sure that whichever access means you choose for the Rhino Readers books, it's going to be the same books, whether you're reading them on a screen, whether you're picking up the physical books, or whether you're reading them on a tablet and device with the Rhino Readers mobile app. It's just that depending on your setting, it might make more sense to use one rather than the other. So hopefully the different ways of accessing the books is a little bit more clear.